Hi, welcome to Cooking with Class at Johnson Wales University College of Culinary Arts, doing a week of some really wonderful Rhode Island cheeses. And this is one of the locals again. It's a feta. I know fetas are made, there's a Greek cheese, they're salty. This is really, really delicate. It's got a nice creaminess to it. It's not salty at all. I'm not picking on the other ones, but this is really one of the Rhode Island favorites. We're going to do a baked salmon with this. Now, very simple. We have a casserole dish. We have some beautiful salmon loin. We're going to take and put a little bit of thyme in the bottom and a little bit of olive oil. And what we're going to do is you're going to lay the skin, and this is where the skin was. So we're going to go skin side down on the bottom. And then you can take and just a little drizzle of olive oil on top. Now we're going to add just a little bit of black pepper, not much. Because we're not putting any salt in it. You're going to see the reason why. We're going to add just a little bit of lemon juice. And we have a little bit of sherry. This is a dry sherry, you know, just a small amount. You want to make sure you have enough to cover the bottom of the pan. And then this is the feta cheese. We take it, comes in a little small square, and crumble it up and just kind of gather it and just kind of place it on top and just press it into position. If it spills a little bit into the wine, it's not a big deal because the wine is going to evaporate anyway, and you're going to be able to chisel this off the top. So there's no salt needed, and all you do is just bake this in the oven. If you're using a thermometer, you're probably going to about 15 to 18 minutes, internal temperature in the thickest point of 145 degrees, and you're good to go. Just any residue from the oil and wine that's left, you can use it as a sauce. So stay tuned this week. We're doing some wonderful recipes with some Rhode Island cheeses. This is a baked feta with crusted salmon. Now that's cooking with class.
All on our TurnTo10.com website. Now let's check out the midweek weather, Kelly.
Well, we dealt with some showers earlier this morning. A lot of the ground was wet as you were stepping outside, but for the most part, like we thought, this frontal boundary basically broke up a little bit, and those showers lost a bunch of steam as they continue to track through. The difference is we're still dealing with a lot of cloud cover, so we could still see some pockets of moisture moving in as we head through the afternoon, but we're not expecting a washout like what we saw yesterday. The models were trending that way, and they are going to continue doing so as we go through the later part of the afternoon. You will notice the models, as we animate this, do look like they are going to bring a few more isolated light rain showers across southern New England as we go into the afternoon. Keeping the clouds in place, of course, that will keep those temperatures in the 60s for the most part. And then if we do see any rain again, it will be light for the most part. But don't put the umbrellas away just yet, because by tomorrow we've got another system that's going to make its arrival, and that's really going to bump up those rain chances. So check out what's happening out to our west at this point. We did see this storm system providing a lot of favorable conditions for severe weather across Nebraska yesterday, Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana this morning, and of course in the upper Midwest on Monday. So we will continue tracking this. It's an area of low pressure that is going to continue bringing a lot of moisture across the country and the potential for some severe storms in a lot of areas. So what we're dealing with today is the frontal boundary out ahead of this system. That's going to continue to push through, keeping the moisture in, keeping those temperatures low. But this area of low pressure, as it continues churning really up toward Pennsylvania through New York State, it's going to continue to have a lot of moisture along with it. So that's going to up our rain chances for tomorrow. Now you'll notice we are seeing a little bit of the yellows, a little bit of the oranges on this model as we head through the late part of tomorrow morning. This is stopping the clock around 10 a.m. We could see some heavy rain at times, but due to the timing of the day, we're probably not going to see that potential for severe weather because it won't be warm enough. But it does definitely look like it will be a little bit more of a wet day by comparison to today. So just something to keep in mind. Just keep those umbrellas handy. Your marine forecast for the rest of the day. Winds are out of the southeast at 5 to 10 knots. Visibility 1 to 3 miles. Waves about a foot. High tide coming up in about an hour. Sunset tonight at 8:16. So days continue getting a little bit longer. Now take a look at your 7-day forecast. Again, we are staying cooler than average today and tomorrow. We should top out in the low to mid 70s for the most part. 66 for your high tomorrow. Again, the shower possibility will be a little bit more likely in the morning, but by Friday we're in great shape. We're expecting some clouds in the morning, clearing in the afternoon, highs in the 70s. The weekend, though, again, we've been very lucky with these weekends. The past 3 have been just gorgeous. Mostly sunny skies, highs in the upper 70s to near 80 degrees. That continues through Sunday, and it doesn't look like the rain chance arrives again until Monday, then partly sunny by Tuesday.
Beach weekend.
That's right.
The water temperatures are getting a little bit warmer.
A little bit warmer. We're still right below 60 degrees in a lot of spots.
It's for the daring among you.
Right, not me.
All right, Kelly, we're back in a moment with our Money Watchers Business Lunch, which today includes a look at how much airlines are really profiting from each passenger. We'll also check how small business owners can get contracts with the federal government.
Plan your day with Storm Team 10. Weather coverage you trust. On air and weekday mornings on B101.
All right, so far today on Wall Street, the big averages have fluctuated between small gains and small losses. At the moment, small gains. Dow Industrials up 3 1/3, NASDAQ up 14 1/2, the S&P 500 up just under 3 points. If you are an entrepreneur and owner of a small business in Rhode Island, there's a big potential client for your goods or services you may not have considered. It's the federal government. Attorney Melissa Horn recently joined the Rhode Island law firm Higgins, Kavanaugh and Cooney as of counsel, and she specializes in helping business clients get work from the federal government. There's apparently a big pie, even in a small state like Rhode Island, where the contracts are available.
There is, Frank. The U.S. government spends almost $800 million a year on goods and services here in Rhode Island.
In Rhode Island alone?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. What kinds of services?
Everything from equipment for the defense industry to goods and services needed at the Veterans Hospital to cleaning at the various government buildings like the federal courthouse.
And I understand people who put clam bakes together, there's business for that too.
That's right. Catering for like down at the War College, for instance.
I know you've got a lot of people's attention here because a lot of people in our audience run small businesses. So if they want to avail themselves of these kinds of contracts, what's the step-by-step process?
Well, the federal government, federal law requires the government to steer a fair proportion of their contracts to small business. So the Small Business Administration has provided a way for small businesses to register themselves through the small business. It's a computerized registration process.
And it's multi-step, and we have a step-by-step process on our list. The first step, of course, is whether your business qualifies.
Right. The Small Business Administration has established various criteria in different industries according to what's called the NAICS codes. And you can, through the Small Business Administration, determine what characteristics, whether it be by number of employees or annual revenues, are the limit for you being considered a small business.
Once you determine whether you've qualified, you have to register a business profile, and then you have to go through a certification and registration process. And that's not all. Because it's the federal government, it's a little more complicated than doing business with a private client, and we'll talk about that tomorrow when we continue our discussion. We'll see you again then.
Thank you.
That was Melissa Horn. And with all the money we're spending on air travel, you would think the airlines would be making a lot of schkarol. And they are, but maybe not as much as you think. Americans will pay $746 billion globally on air travel this year, but it seems the airlines make just over $5 a passenger. The International Air Transport Association says that's a big improvement from over 2 years ago when it was just over $2 a passenger. Overall, the industry is expected to make a post-tax profit of $18 billion this year, so I suppose we need shed no tears for the airline industry. Some of the country's biggest distillers have issued a warning of a shortage of whiskey and bourbon. That means prices could go up. The Distilled Spirits Council says more drinkers led to a 10% increase in sales in just the last year. You add to that increased international sales, millennials switching from craft beer and wine, and baby boomers having a cocktail or two. That's our Money Watchers Business Lunch. On the news later today, the next Rhode Island state budget does not include new bridge tolls, but it includes other things, including how the state plans to pay for maintenance. That's on the 5 o'clock news this afternoon. More at 5:30 on how February school vacation could soon become a thing of the past in Rhode Island public schools. And the 6 o'clock news has a report about what some pranksters pulled off at a bike path. Later today here on 10. Thank you for joining us today on NBC 10 News at noon. Hello, I'm Frank Terranova with news headlines. 30 Rhode Island National Guard members were deployed to Kuwait today. They expect to be away for about a year. The Massachusetts teenager accused of murdering his math teacher could face new charges. 17-year-old Philip Chisholm is... Why, yes, you are. I thought it was 70 guardsmen. You still in there, Candy? News headlines. Several dozen. I'm Frank Terranova with news headlines. Several dozen Rhode Island National Guard members were deployed to Kuwait today. They expect to be away for about a year. Ceremony this morning at Quonset. The Massachusetts teenager accused of murdering his math teacher could face new charges. 17-year-old Philip Chisholm is being investigated for an assault on a worker at the facility where he's being held. More news later here on MeTV and over on NBC 10.